A couple of weeks ago, I did a video on the heaviest power cleans of all time. This week, I thought I'd do the heaviest power snatches of all time. I'd also like to apologize for missing out this one by Ruslan Nuruddinov, 210 kilo power clean at 105 kilos in body weight, which surely would have made the list. Okay, so we're going to start off with a couple that didn't quite make it because they weren't true powers, but even so, I thought they were worth mentioning. We've got Tian Tao, 160 kilo power snatch. That's 86% of the world record. Then we have Bodhi Santavi, same weight class, same lift, 160 kilo power snatch. That also is 86%. Now, to the true powers, we're going to kick things off with Saeed Ali Hosseini, one of the strongest super heavyweights of all time. 170 kilo power snatch off 25 kilo plates, so he's just got a very slight reduction in length of pull, and he catches them so high, it's absurd. Now, I didn't bother putting the percentage of world record because it's actually very low compared to the other ones that I'm going to get into. But even so, just because of the height that he pulls it, I feel like it genuinely does act as a contender for most impressive ever. I'm sure he could do significantly more. But we'll start properly with 84.9% of the world record. World record at the time, by the way. This is Hussein Rezazadeh, 180 kilos in the power snatch. Catches it again remarkably high. Back then, of course, the world record was 212 kilos, not the 220 kilos that we know of today from Lash Talakadze. So that does sit at 84.9% of the world record. Next, we have 170 kilos by Vasily Polovnikov, but this was no contact, no foot powers. And he did this, of course, as a 105 kilo weightlifter. So that's exactly 85% of the world record, that 200 kilo world record set by Andrei Romnau in 2008. And he did it no contact, no foot. Sticking with the same weight class, but just slightly higher in the ranking because they did it later, we have Yang Zhe from China, 109 kilo weightlifter, 170 kilo power snatch, but of course the world record in that weight class is 199 kilos. So instead of this being 85% of the world record, he sort of sneaks ahead with 85.4% of the world record. Also, I can see why this ranking list doesn't work because he's heavier and all this sort of stuff. I just wanted to just go through some of the heaviest. If you don't think they're ranked right, I really don't care that much. As long as I've included the most impressive powers of all time. So let's move on. We have Piras Dimas as an 83 kilo weightlifter, which is a weight class that most of you probably don't know existed or remember much of. 150 kilos in the power snatch. He did this in Melbourne at the 1993 World Championships. At the time, the world record was 175 kilos, which I think was his. He moved it up to 180 kilos eventually, but that gives him a power snatch of 85.7%. More recently now, we have 61 kilo Li Fei Bin, a lift that I filmed just over a year ago, 125 kilos. He, of course, does hold the world record in the snatch at 145 kilos. So that gives him a power snatch at 86.2% of his own world record. He's also done 125 kilos in competition as well, another lift that I indeed filmed. Next, we have Aileen Thikamatana, 81 kilo weightlifter from Australia. I filmed this one in Roma at the World Cup, at the Roma World Cup 2020. Power snatch plus hang power snatch. The world record is 127 kilos, so that 100 kilos is a little bit less, but she did power 110 kilos in competition, which hopefully you guys are seeing as well. So 100 for a power hang power, then a 110 power. That's 86.6% of the world record, and she could certainly, by the looks of things, do a little bit more. Up by just 1/10 of a percentage of the world record is Lee Dai-yin, Mr. Pull himself. 150 kilos, 86.7% of a 173 kilo world record in that 81 kilo weight class held by Mohammed Ehab. He also did 130 kilos. I thought I'd put that in there. Looks very easy, and it's more just because of how impressive it is. In fact, the funny thing about this 150, depending on which 150 we're showing right now, was that I was filming him do it. He then set up to take a second attempt, and then if you listen to the video, you can hear his name being called. So he lets go of the bar, runs out to competition, and then power snatches it there as well, which is very cool. Okay, so at this point, I think we're really moving in with the big boys. In fact, this is the final five lifts. We've got Gabriel Crayon. Now, Gabriel is, or was of course, an amazing weightlifter. He was popped lost some of his medals and that sort of stuff. But during the period before he was popped, somewhat understandably, I suppose, he hit some incredible lifts. This 165 kilo power snatch is 88.2% of the world record. And also, what makes this even more impressive, and which, maybe is the reason this should actually be ranked higher, is of course that 85 kilo weight class. The world record snatch was 187 kilos by Andrei Rybakov, the most impressive snatch of the modern era by some way. Something along the lines of, I think, the third best snatch by Sinclair of all time, behind Blagoev and I think maybe Vardanyan's 190, weighing around 86 kilos. And so this lift, this 187 world record that he's got to go off, makes this 165 just so much more impressive. So 88.2% for Gabriel Crayon. Next, and we are just shy of the 90% mark of the world record, we have Bianca Costova, 58 kilo weightlifter, again, of course, popped. So bear that in mind when you're trying to work out your own ranking list of these lifts. 100 kilos in the power snatch at 58. That's 89.3% of her world record at the time, of course, of 112 kilos. Moving on to the top three now. I think some of you are going to get a bit angry about number one. We have Mr. World Sao himself, Shi Ziyong, 73 kilo weightlifter, who power snatched, and I've got videos of both of these. The first time I filmed him, he hit this 140. The second time I filmed him, as in the second competition in which I was able to film him, he hit 150 kilos for a power snatch. Bear in mind, the day before he missed 130, and in the warm-up room before this he missed 130, and then he goes out and hits 150. That's 89.3% again of his world record of 168 kilos. This is truly remarkable. Next we have the lift that I think is the most impressive power snatch ever, but by percentage it's not quite, but there's a technicality involved. So we're going to jump up a massive 6% at this point to 95.7% of the world record. In the 94 class, we have Sohrab Maradi, 180 kilo power snatch. Now, I'm doing this as a percentage of Kaki Kakishvili's 188 because this lift was just before Sohrab Maradi hit that 189 that essentially wiped clean the record books of Kaki Kakishvili, having no more records under his name. I suppose the 3 Olympic gold medals probably helped him somewhat get over this. But anyway, Sohrab Maradi, 180, 95.7% of the 188 world record. He also hit 170 kilos for a block power double. So to me, this is the master lift. Of course, Sohrab Maradi actually has snatched 205 kilos at probably a similar time to this. And so as a percentage of that, we're looking more along 88%. But of the world record, 95.7%. And in the number one spot, a lift that a lot of you guys aren't going to be happy with, mainly because I don't think the guy can go below parallel. Such are the problems with having incredibly short femurs and the thickest of thighs in the world. We have super heavyweight Gore Minassian, 212 kilo power snatch, arguably the heaviest power snatch of all time, 96.36% of the 220 kilo world record by Lasher. I don't know what you guys are going to make of that one. I know it kind of feels a little bit off, a little bit fishy, a little bit of a shame to give it to him, but the percentages don't lie. Who have I missed out? Who do you think wins out of this lift? And of course, as is the eternal question, what do you think Lasher could do in this? Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on another episode of the Weightlifting House podcast.